This is typical, you know? It did survive. Let me see. Become the leaders of the world. You got it now? Yeah.
Yes.
You know what? I'm so happy about your mail because the things you're doing is just perfect for this particular podcast and the topic, you know. And when you're talking, I can hear from the little you wrote that you have a lot of experience. So what I'm thinking about this conversation, I call it a conversation, not an interview, okay? It's like, I want you to tell me more about what you're doing first before we jump to questions about feminine leadership and stuff, you know, because I can hear that you have a lot from the field.
And I mean, it's great to connect. And as soon as I saw your call, I was, you know, something drew me to that. I felt like I had something to say from experience, but also from who I am as a person.
Yeah.
So basically, I am a Cypriot national, living in Greece for the past 9 years now. And my professional experience up to this point has been in relation to human rights, in the humanitarian field, and as you mentioned and spotted, actually, I had some experience in the field when there was the big refugee emergency, the refugee influx in Greece from 2015, like towards the end of 2015, and worked in the field, like from first reception on the islands to further in the north part of Greece after the closure of the borders and people were stuck. So I had that field experience, but then I was quite based in Athens, so working more remotely for the field. But I was also called to attend to issues like when there were emergencies, like the big fire that broke out on Lesbos Island, and people had to relocate to a new setting, a new site or camp, however you want to call it. Instinct kind of kicked in, and then it became more of a conscious decision that I wanted to shift to something new. I left my previous job. I was kind of soul searching.
With a lot of, when you work with refugees, it's a life experience in itself.
Yes, and you know what I keep from that experience And what I recognized in myself is that the core element that's there, like the anchor, let's say, in me is that I want to be a support for others. And what I valued most through that experience working with refugees was really my interaction with people. One thing kind of led me to another in this soul searching that I'm labeling this period. And I was brought into a field that has that element again of supporting others. And it's the field of embodiment. It's basically drawing from somatics work. It's kind of a relearning and rewiring of ourselves, how to be with ourselves.
Right.
And it's something that feels aligned.
This is the feminine wisdom that we are coming into right now, right? Because you said you first worked with refugees and you got this human touch to it. And then you went for a soul search, and then you found that embodiment is vital, right, for any development. And I think that's just perfect in the core of feminine leadership, because that comes, into whatever we do, whether it's business, it's humans, right? It's humans that we work with, and how we treat refugees has a lot of mirror of how we are a society and how we do justice, like you told on email, like the social justice, if it's not there, like you're saying, how can we embody this? Yeah, and when you experience it so much to the core as you do in the field, that's first when you realize how much is lacking, right? Because one thing is to be in the office or sitting somewhere very far away from the problem, which we are doing in the modern society in general. We don't go into the field and experience the challenges that are there. And when you get it where you've been, it must be the most, it's the closest you can come to those issues. It's like when you are facing it right there, it's challenging, and it takes a little bit of a strength from a person to realize or to get there. I don't think anyone can just jump into it without being prepared, but probably you already had a lot of core strength. You became stronger, right? And now you know what this is about.
Yes, I mean, I always craved human connection in that sense. And there was a big learning curve through my experience in the refugee field, for sure. And even when I was, detached from the field, I still had very strong feelings about things and about cases that maybe I was handling or witnessing things, or even hearing or seeing how the situation was portrayed in the media and misrepresentations about the whole issue. So this was like bottling up. So even when I didn't have that immediate connection to the humans, because I was right in the center of it, I kind of felt like it's too much,
Yeah.
It's too much, because like there's only so many things you can do. And
you understand this has a bigger issue, right? It's a greater thing that we have to get into. When you say embodiment, can you tell me more about that?
Sure. So basically what embodiment is, in very plain terms, is inhabiting more of yourself. So it is about personal growth. It is about transformation.
Right.
But it's at the like core of it is accessing body-based wisdom.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is I am training to be a coach in that. So actually supporting others to access that information that's stored in their bodies, but it's not tapped into yet. It's very exciting because having been on the receiving end of that, I have seen how it has helped me accessing my own truth and what I want to do. So I see that it works, and I want to bring that to others. So yeah.
That's great. I mean, when you have that so much, like I said in the beginning, also such a touch to the core, that makes you also into the question when you have to decide, is this gonna change me, or am I gonna be stuck here? And what you did is something positive. You use this as a force, as a way to grow, and that's you have to say, I'm good, right? Because what you did was the opposite. Some people will get very down from experiencing something very hard and facing something that, okay, this is problematic. We're seeing a lot of tragedy today that we can't handle because it's some others, higher powers, delivering the message and doing decisions for us. But you can't make your own decisions. Like what you did was a decision. I'm going to use this as a force. Yeah. So that's amazing. And I like to know, like, how did you get from there and to today, somewhere you say that you have leveled up, kind of?
I was like in the privileged position to take that time and take that space to do my soul searching and to see where it would lead me. You mentioned leveling up. I would say that I feel like I'm spreading out. So like maybe not going, not this direction, but this way.
I would say, just to correct myself a bit, because leveling up sounds like you have to climb something. For me, I would say, if you go this way, it's more a level up, because that means, in general, it means that you get a better sense of yourself, but also others. Like you embrace more of the world, the contrasts of the world, and you're making more space. And this is also what this is about, like discovering that we are together on this planet about all the challenges. Like when I said in my bio was that I have no one above me, just you beside me. That was kind of my introduction to my bio, was to write something like, I want to make a community that has all these voices that wants to express what is going on, then you can actually make changes together, because it doesn't have to be you alone doing this, right? And that's kind of the new power, I think, is the feminine power, And how do you picture feminine leadership power?
Yes. So I have an issue with the word leadership. Like I have maybe with other words, because they're very, loaded with meaning. And, when you say a leader, you always have this, image popping up, which is so ingrained, by society and by the systems we live in, right? So to me, like female leadership or feminine, as I wrote to you, because I think there is a quality deeper there that is available in all of us, despite of gender identities and whatever. It's basically living by example, being there to bring the best out of each one. A leader is someone that paves the way in a way that other people find their way too.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think
that sounds like in the ancient times, we were leading by example a lot more than we do today. And it's interesting when you mention it, because there are different leadership types. And the only leadership type that we kind of see today is more like the authoritarian, or the one that is very political, or the one that is very biased. But when you say that leading is also about leading with people and on the people foundations, right?
Basically, in the beginning, it was quite hard for me because I was very disconnected from my body and who I am. Like I felt that, and how I always refer to that situation is that my voice was silenced through the work situation that I was in before. That's the physical sensation that I had, that my voice was silent. But somehow there was like a little voice somewhere saying that, okay, you need to move on to different things. In the beginning, it's very hard because, as you also mentioned, we have these societal pressures and expectations of how you should move on. And okay, your high esteemed job, something that is stable, something that is high earning, also for Greece, and you move on, even if it's not spelled out, you feel it in you that there is this expectation. You need to move on to bigger things, like even bigger, or even at the same level, something that carries the same esteem or credibility, but just stay on that path. It took some time for me to be able to reconnect with my body and my feelings, essentially. Even though I took some steps applying for jobs in the same field, like something did not feel right. Like there is just something that did not, click.
I can feel it, because I think we all, as women also, but also in general, despite who we are, we do a lot of things of expectations, like you said, and what is maybe subconsciously driving us. I think that we're running away in society a lot from ourselves, and we're making these steps what we think is going to make us feel better, and then we just get more and more empty the longer we step away, right? We cannot, without the leader that hasn't got to this point where they can also be empathetic and, with themselves and others, because it has more than just the paragraph right. It's also about understanding the human behind.
It resonates with me when you talk about empathy, and how I think that's why that feminine leadership, or generally feminine qualities, can bring that change, because it's very tied to compassion and to cooperation rather than competition, that we are so we're learning to live and work in competition and not in cooperation with each other.
I think we are on that path of the talk right now, where we know that this is kind of a path that is already there and given to us, except that we also have to embody this, and we didn't do that because we followed the same streamline that they already set from us. Usually they blame things like, okay, we can say it's a lot about capitalism, but on the other hand, patriarchy is strong today. And it is something we don't talk about so much in society, because most leaders, well, sad to say, they are men. And then when women try to voice these problems to patriarchal issues, you say also we get silenced a lot, because it seemed like a competition that women wants to take over from men. This is not what it's about. This is about trying to get the same equality of voices, and to, understand that we have been suppressed in the past for a very long time, and how can we actually, without realizing this has happened, we can't change it. And we have to admit that, when I'm kind of in the moment a little bit angry, because the world is kind of messed up. So with everything that's going on, I just get more and more angry. And that's why I also started this project, is because if I didn't do anything about this, I would just go crazy. Because this is like everything that goes on. You can say it's a lot of wars in the world, which is true. But we forget also there's a war against women. Yeah, for centuries. But,
And if we are going to be honest, wars are masculine, right?
Let's be honest.
Wars are masculine. I mean, it's from that masculine energy of wanting to exploit resources and wanting to trample upon people for profit. That's what it's born out of.
It is true, because I don't mean to say that all men are doing this, but they have to realize that if we're going to be honest about it, the people that exploit others, it comes from it's a long time of colonialism. It used to be a lot of men in there, but the resources that we haven't had the domination of, and if we we don't have it. It's not about that we want that resource. It's about that we want access to change the distribution and the unfairness of this resource.
Exactly.
And women can have a say into this in a more compassionate way, like you said. It is not about matriarchy, but we need this kind of. We need this.
Yes. And that like reminds me of a phrase from Audre Lorde that says that we cannot dismantle the master's house using the master's tools, which is exactly that having, you know, this possibility of women and generally femininities to speak up and voice their concerns and not only envision the world and how it's that going to be, but play an active role in it, then it's going to change things, not for women to come on top, but for having a more equitable society.
Exactly.
And I really do, you know, I really do believe that.
I do also, because I think that when women get access, even though they say there's a lot of equality because of female leadership has become more visible, it doesn't mean that we are where we are supposed to be, because it's still...
You know, there is so much talk about, leadership and women entrepreneurship and all the, you know, relevant situations like getting women more into positions of power, political power. I think there is a pitfall there just because of how society was set up historically. Women may also endorse masculine characteristics when they're found in that place. And it's just perpetuating the situation. And,
very interesting part. Yeah,
and I feel that there is a lot of work to be done there with men that hold decision-making positions, of course, but also with women that theoretically are there, but are embracing more masculine characteristics just to survive in that space. And just because they tie, you know, being emotional with being unprofessional. That's something that I have experienced. So it's like, it's okay to feel, and it's okay to, you know, to not know sometimes. It's okay to be in a space of not knowing where to go and like working together to find a way forward. You don't just have to push your way through and your position.
What you're saying is so true, because it's more than just a position. It's not only about positioning that for females to take part. It's also that it's not just about your title, equality when it comes to salaries, positions, awards, things like that. It's about your experience, how the organization is done, perhaps the strategy, how we think about an implementation, what we can see forward, all those things that is more than the position. And then, like you said, I've talked to another coach about the same thing. He says the inner patriarchy is a lot about how women don't recognize their own patriarchy that's going on when you are at the same level as men, maybe say parroting their lines. They're doing what they have been told to do. Women get rewarded if they do as good as men has always done, like, you know, and that's what he calls the inner patriarchy, especially if the industry is already very masculine, and they get like, oh my God, a woman can do this. Oh, she's so clever, you know, and she gets the same salary. Wow, you know, and then you're still kind of the same patriarchal structure that we don't realize, because we're just so happy that we got the same position as a man. It's, like you said just right now, was that there's a big pitfall there. Yeah, like how can we actually? And you are doing a lot of you're doing a lot of transformation. I can hear about your job now and what you're doing in your project to change that, and I think that's very interesting, because I can see already that's a need.
People being on the front line and people being at the receiving end that are maybe suppressing the feelings they have from the experience, from their work experience, basically, and how to help navigate them through, this body-based learning. It's influenced by somatics work because there's a lot of this. It's not just the regular coaching where you're just thinking and you're using only this part of your body. You're not head,
You're not just a
mix
head.
up. You're not
You
just a
are
head.
more than this.
So there's a lot of like tuning in, and the role of the coach is to create that safe space and that safe container where you can like drop into your body and tune in and see what insights are revealed, maybe in images, maybe in sounds, maybe in physical sensations, something that, cannot be explained, or what bubbles up, what comes up when you pose the questions as a coach.
Yeah.
So deep down, there was an inner knowing. It's just that you didn't notice it before because you didn't have the way, maybe.
So it's a little bit like, when you have phobias for things. For instance, I did an emergency crisis course once when I did about ship rescue. I did things like that. But it was a 14-day course because one time I really wanted to be on the seas and just to help people on board, and then you have to have an emergency crisis rescue course. And 90% of that course, I thought it was going to be technical, but oh no, it's only psychological. It's only about, getting to the core of your fears and, to talk with your body. And then, he was very good instructor because he got a conversation with all of us, what we fear the most, to find the force about this. It could be from your childhood. It could be from your parents. It could be from an episode that you experienced when you were in a closed room and you couldn't get out of it, things like that, Just a little small episode could cause your whole phobia, right?
Of
and then
course.
he's like, because I had a lot of claustrophobia. And then he said, ship rescue is perfect for you because you will have so much claustrophobia. You're gonna be in a dark room with a lot of smoke, and we're gonna test you so much. And I was like, I can't do this. And he said,
so you're thrown into like the very center of your fear,
right?
Yes.
That was
with embodiment, we work on the edges, so it's not like because that might be re-traumatizing, right?
It was, and you know what? I didn't expect that to be the course at all, because this was in northern Norway, in Lofoten, where they had a lot of tourists come in, so we had to protect them if something's going to happen to them. Most of them are if it's on the sea, if they get seasickness, or if they had a lot of trauma from an incident on board. You had to know how to handle those people without, the technical stuff did all the technical stuff, because we had to deal with their emotions if that happened. And then it was like, all right, so I have claustrophobia. I was going to work with the fire on board in a ship. How's that going? And be thrown out in the water. What can you do? But he did it perfectly, because he started with showing us a video from a ship that was sinking, and how the rescue team came with their floaty boats, and stuff like that. And most of that video was about traumatized patients after the incident and how to calm them down to, this is just an accident. It's not about you. You're not going to be traumatized forever because this is the ship. It's not you. All these things, and what you're talking about as well is that to find you doesn't mean that it has to be what happened to you. It doesn't have to be what happened. It has to be you. That's right.
Because also, we talk a lot about how we are shaped by our experiences and by, our our memories of that experience, but those can be very deceiving as well. If there's like, it's not like a memory, it's a true depiction of what happened, because there's always the feelings associated with that, and that could have that event distorted from real events. And I think, well, even me saying I think all the time, it's like we're so ingrained to thinking, but always with the thought there is an associated feeling to say I think, or my experience of fear from like 20 years ago, but how I remember it is the feelings that generated.
So I think that we are underestimating feelings in society in general, because it's like we are driven by logics, like you said, how to do things to get better. But in the end, we are driven by feelings a lot more than we think we are. And maybe those are temporary, but still they kind of shape us. So to get to the core of the problem, sometimes you can't escape your feelings, because that's only going to make it, like you said, bottling up. And then to a certain point where you go almost insane if you don't do anything about it, that might be the point where you have to decide, okay, I'm going to make this as a course, or I will be just drowned. And that's why I think it's so impressive what you did yourself, that you can inspire others to do the same, or with their own experiences, you know?
I don't know where I read something about feminine economy and how to be part of that shift towards changing how the economy works.
The mindset.
You have to, yes, and it's like you have to bring in more models of enterprises that are female-led and are based on the principles that we have talked about. It's like, how are you expecting, capitalist economy to change or shift, become more equitable, or, be more respectful for the planet, for resources in general, if you do not put yourself into it and slowly create a ripple effect. More and more come into that.
Right, because we can't escape that we are in a monetary system still. So we are in a profit-based world, meaning that, it's very much like I was before non-profit as well, because I did a non-profit magazine for a long time, because I was state-sponsored, so that was okay. But, at some point, when I'm now, I make it a disclaimer in my bio that this is not a non-profit, it's not a charity. Oh, sorry. My coffee spilled.
Oh, no.
All the popping up. I'm glad.
Was there a lot of coffee left?
Yeah, the whole coffee.
Oh, no.
I'm more concerned about my phone, actually, because I've lost it so many times and so many things. Just hope. Thank you so much. The waitress is perfect. She's doing all the job for me. This is typical, Did it survive? Let me see. It's an iPhone.
Yay!
iPhone, they should survive things like this. I'm okay. I just think about my technology here.
No, it's short of coffee, and now it's energized.
I'm used to water. I'm not afraid of water. It's just I'm afraid if my technology doesn't work tomorrow, I can't have a job. I spilled everywhere, Can you believe how dependent we are on technology? That if something happens like this, if it just breaks down, we're just finished. We don't have a job tomorrow. Whenever women do a business that is primarily to grow, she's immediately seen as she might be not conscious about others, she might be selfish, she might be greedy. All these things that is not fair, because that's how men have driven all their business all this time. And what you said is like, it's very important to get into the activity that can make real change is usually when we are aware of how we image women developers. As you know, we're not assistants. We can also be entrepreneurs. We can also be the drivers of the change. And for that, we need capital, because otherwise, when I did my non-profit, we also had a little profit, but it was at some point the magazine had to decide: are we going to go full profit, or are we going to start a new project or stop a project? We eventually made an end to it and decided that this was the non-profit project. The next one's going to be our business, and then how things change. Because you have a concept, and the concept you have to kind of follow. But then concepts can also develop. We have a little bit from the old times still that women are the helpers.
Yes.
Instead of the drivers, right?
Yeah, but even in our role as helpers, we do not value the help we're giving sometimes so much as to charge for it. Like, put it bluntly, like, we'd rather, but we are taught that, like our creativity, and that comes down to, the creative impulse, I think, like, that is very shut down. And it's because also, like, helping and being there for others is like you're creating connections. It's still born out of that creation. So I think that's why it's very, undervalued even by women themselves, because of how they are taught that it's something you should do anyways. It's not something that you should do to, as a job or as to receive income from it.
It comes a little bit from the old housewife thing.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Yes. You took it out of my mouth. I was going to say that, this is also because of the roles of women, or the mother, the one that's, different roles that, very traditional values of how a family should be and how a family should look like, and who should be the breadwinner. Okay, if women are housewives, it's totally fine. And it's totally fine, though, if women are the breadwinners and women are the ones that are, bringing the income into the house.
And it's not about that we work more. It's more about we are expected to work regardless of what we get back for that. Like you said, it's like a bit the traditional. It comes from when women did things voluntarily to help the family when the men were outside. It's like it's kind of an extended arm from that we're still not realizing that we're putting on ourselves, maybe more than the men do. We're putting it like, okay, I'm compassionate about my house and my family, so why can I not be that in the society without expecting that I'm going to flourish? Because it means that we have put ourselves secondary. The primary is to help others. But, helping others should be enriching for you, because that's a part of a human being. So when you're coming to that point when you realize that this is making me grow, that's when you realize that, okay, I deserve a space into this and have a say into this, because this makes everyone grow. I think men more has this naturally from. It's not expected from them, but it's been pushed from very early on that they can do this without consequences. They can just, push forward and help others, but still be the savior, let's say, religion, which is, I think, is a bit of an excuse. On the same time, it's true that religion put these traditional values and roles that, you have in every religion is the father, the mother, the child. It's more than this. It's like how we are relating to these roles still. Yes. No matter if you're religious or not, you're still doing it because it's automatically part of the system. Still more masculine. It's how
Yes, it is.
what's ruling today is more like oligarchy. We're saying about ourselves that we stick to human rights, but do we actually do that when it comes to women, when it comes to workplace, when it comes to traditional values that we have or don't have, and then the helping hand to somebody in need to come to somewhere they were supposed to be taken care of or welcomed, and maybe they were for a second or 2 days, and maybe we're still there where we have not got into the main problem is human rights is not complete in our developed society.
Human rights, I mean, it's very relative, and the issues faced in Greece and in Europe with treatment of women and violence against women, you see that it's very prevalent. So it would be also the easy choice to blame it that it's, the outside culture acts this way. Look how men are treating women, in such country. This is just, it's like a smokescreen for what happens in your own neighborhood. And there are still, I think there needs to be a will to acknowledge this takes place in your
next door.
Next door. Yes. And I mean,
but feminine leadership can help about this is also that we are easier to be attentive to injustice because we have experience from that in ourselves and from our history, mothers, grandmothers, and the female history. It is easier for us to adapt that, see and recognize other people coming that has no access to the same rights as we know. So I think that as long as we get more influence on these workfields, not only, like you said, individually, because of course, when the system fails, individuals, it's up to the individual, but ultimately, we have to kind of create a better system,
Yeah, and I think women, intergenerational, you carry this injustice, as you rightly say, like from mothers, grandmothers, from, even from women from other parts of the earth, feeling, I would say, again, of the collective, injustice that women have suffered throughout the years. So women are more tuned into identifying when injustice plays out.
And it's not something that I think men has to be afraid of, like you also said. They might appreciate more than we think a better understanding, which they might want in the end. So I think that we are underestimating the male appreciation of the female.
And that's why we need to work with men as well and helping them find the feminine qualities in them.
Females recognizing them, but in the end, all human beings have the feminine energy. And like you say, the males might be the one that we need to guide them to this feminine energy, because we embody, like you say, if we can, all the women, let's say on earth, embody this energy, imagine the power, and then power is contagious. So if we just, adapt to this quicker, then the men will follow. I'm absolutely sure.